Welcome to the Ecommerce Marketing Podcast, the highly rated digital marketing podcast that provides weekly digital marketing tips and strategies from some of the world's top digital marketers and e-commerce entrepreneurs that will help you take your digital marketing to the next level. Sit back and enjoy this power-packed episode hosted by Arlen Robinson, who is an e-commerce entrepreneur and digital marketing expert with over 20 years of experience. Hey, Ecommerce Marketing Podcast listener. Are you looking to increase traffic and sales to your website? You can do this by launching your own affiliate program. Just visit getosi.com and sign up for a free trial today. That's getosi.com. Now get ready to hear from your e-commerce marketing expert of the week as they drill down to give you details on marketing strategies that can help grow your business.
Welcome back to the E-commerce Marketing Podcast, everyone. My name is Arlen Robinson. I am your host, and today we have a very special guest, Farzad Rashidi, who is the lead innovator at Respona, the all-in-one digital PR and link building software that combines personalization with productivity. He also runs the marketing efforts at Visme, where he helped the company gain over 12.5 million users and pass 2 million monthly organic traffic. Since then, he's been helping other companies achieve the same success via Respona. Welcome to the podcast, Farzad.
Thanks for having me on the show, Arlen. Excited to catch up since 2019.
Definitely. Yeah, we were just talking before the recording that, we were trying to do some work together back a few years ago now, and never really could sync up. And so, I'm really excited that you're able to get on. Because the other company that you're with, of course, Visme. I was telling you, I go way back with your founder, Payman, and from our web design days. And so
that's right.
It's always good to be able to reconnect and see people that you kind of started off with that are still doing great things. And so I'm really excited that you guys are doing well.
Same here. I appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem. Well, today we're going to be talking about content marketing and SEO, and specifically how e-commerce brands can acquire customers via evergreen content. Content really is always king. I think that's something that was coined a while back, but I think it still is the same today. Content is very important, and a lot of times e-commerce businesses struggle with content marketing and even SEO. And so you're going to enlighten us a little bit on that. But before we do get into all of that, why don't you tell us a little bit more about your background and specifically how you got into what you're doing today?
Sure thing. Absolutely. So as far as my background goes, I joined as the first marketing hire at Visme, which I'm sure you've heard of as Arlen since the founder of Visme, Payman. And for folks who don't know what Visme is an all-in-one brand content creation platform for businesses. So if you'd like to create like presentations, infographics professionally, but don't know how to design, that's the way to go. Visme sort of helps to kind of put together these pieces of content very quickly and efficiently. Now, when I joined the company, we had a bunch of engineers and developers and designers that were like, hey, we built this really kick-ass product, but we need to find a way to sell it because obviously we are bootstrap companies, didn't have all of our, the hundreds of millions of dollars in ad budget that a lot of our competitors had. So right. I was tasked with figuring out a channel that would basically help us scale our company and build a customer acquisition strategy without having to spend a ton of cash. Mm-hmm. And which basically was a big undertaking, I got to tell you.
Right.
So we basically, just to kind of give you the sense of scale now, Visme has over 14 million active users, and we spend very little on paid ads at Coral Outreach. Almost all of our users come directly through our organic channels. Mm-hmm. And that includes our affiliate program, but predominantly through organic search. So Visme is getting about 2.5-3 million in monthly organic traffic every month. And that's worth about $1.5 million a month worth of paid ads that we're getting for free, quote unquote. Right. So, but didn't get there overnight though, I must say. Sounds kind of easier said than done when you're talking about it on a podcast, but
definitely. People hear the millions of organic, in traffic, and definitely, you guys have definitely put in the work. Yeah, it's just not something you obtain lightly. So I'm glad you mentioned that.
But the real secret key though, and what really was a pivotal moment for Visme was the fact that a lot of content creators and a lot of people in the SEO game, what they do is that they spend a lot of time on on-page metrics, like creating quality content, building landing pages, and especially for e-commerce stores, that's somewhat complicated. You need to have different silos, categories, and they just sort of leave it there. And they just expect people to just come and naturally find them. And it just never happens. It's just not how the real world works. So what we did at Visme was to sort of flip our allocation of resources for marketing. And that's something that less than 1% of companies do. And that is, we spend 20% of our marketing resources on content creation. The other 80% goes into promotion and link building and outreach. So the process of doing outreach was quite sort of done manually. And since we were spending quite a lot of our resources on it, there was a lot of room for inefficiency. So what we did basically was to build the process that was already working for us manually and stuck it in an internal tool that was sort of our secret sauce. And it just worked extremely well. We were like, guys, we got something here. So we decided to release it as a standalone tool. And that's sort of how Respona came to be as a standalone product.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's awesome. And thank you for sharing that. Yeah, it's really good to see stories like that are, of products or services that are kind of organically born, that of something that is based on a need there. And
that's right.
It's good to see that you guys have created that. Yeah, that's awesome. And so thank you for sharing a story in the background. And so as I mentioned at the top of the episode, of course, we're going to talk about SEO and content marketing. It's really kind of a broad subject as far as content marketing, SEO. There's a lot under that whole umbrella of content marketing and SEO. And so what I like to do is really just, of course, on this podcast is focus on, some specific key things that an e-commerce business can really do, like immediately after listening to this and kind of get their strategy in order. And so what I want to kind of start off with is, what are some must-haves, in your opinion, when it comes to content marketing and SEO strategies, kind of from a higher level view, that really any e-commerce brand should be doing from what you see?
Absolutely. And so unfortunately, I'm going to talk a little bit about stuff that I see that people do wrong most of the time. Because I feel like a lot of folks, especially in the marketing space, they know the basics. They understand it's important. They know that the basic principles of, yes, you need to create content. You need to have the right site structure, make sure the site loads fast and just responsive, all the good stuff that are common sense and it's under your control. However, there's a few things that I see people do wrong. Number one is keyword research. So unfortunately, a lot of people just sort of pull keywords out of their hat and just writing out of from their heart, and then just put these content pieces out on the web that nobody's really searching for, and they expect traffic to sort of magically appear on a website, or they expect people to just land on a website magically and then go navigate to their blog and start reading their blog posts. And in real life, that's not how things work. The blog is sort of the gateway. It's sort of a gate where people enter your website. So you need to first identify the keywords that people are actually actively searching for and prioritize, since all companies have limited resources. You can't just cater to all keywords because there's a billion of them. So what you want to do is to first understand and put together a process for finding the right keywords. And the way we do it is quite scientific. So we have a process on what I call the opportunity keywords, and these are keywords that have the highest amount of traffic possible, lowest amount of competition, and the highest amount of commercial intent for your business. So a keyword that you pick in each category needs to hit all three bases. So the way we go about this is we use a SEO tool like Ahrefs or SEMrush, which are most popular SEO tools. If you are a small e-commerce store just starting out, there's also alternatives like Ubersuggest that are cheaper, but you kind of sort of get what you pay for with these tools, so you can't go too cheap with that. But we use Ahrefs ourselves. I recommend them. It's a solid tool. But basically what they help you with is to understand, okay, for this parent keyword. So let's say, for example, we just got a company, it's an e-commerce store that sells CBD gummies, right? It's a very small niche. So CBD is a big term, and that's what we call a parent keyword. So there's a lot of variations of that. So like, for example, hey, what are the best CBD gummies? Or how do I consume CBD? Is CBD harmful? All of that stuff. So once you run that parent keyword through these tools, they give you a gazillion different number of keywords related to that topic that people are searching over Google. But the problem with that is a matter of prioritization. So we use three metrics that we basically help to sort of sort through, and there's a formula that we sort of put together, and that is number of clicks that each keyword get multiplied by 1 over a metric called keyword difficulty, which is a number from 0 to 100 that these SEO tools give you, which basically tells you how competitive these keywords are to rank for, because there are some keywords that have very high volume, but they're also extremely difficult to rank for. So you want to balance that.
Right.
And we also have another rule of thumb that we don't go after keywords that have a higher keyword difficulty of our domain rating, which is also a metric from 0 to 100. Yeah. So what that means is that play within your league. Okay. SEO is not a game of shooting for the stars. You need to step with baby steps and kind of go from there. So once you have a list of attainable keywords, and then you multiply the number of clicks, multiply by 1 over keyword difficulty, multiply by 1 plus cost per click of that keyword, which is an indication of commercial intent. Why? Because advertisers like to make money. So if an advertiser is willing to bet on that keyword, then that means that keyword is potentially bringing in business. So what you want to do is to prioritize keywords that have a higher CPC than the ones that don't. So when you plug that into that formula, what that does is that it gives you a number, objective number, that you can then sort based of, and it's relative. It's that number on its own doesn't mean anything. What that helps you do is to basically have a metric so you can prioritize keywords. So you're not just limited to one keyword, you're hitting all 3 bases because you're multiplying them together.
Okay.
Now, once you have a list of keywords, then you want to see, okay, what is the commercial intent for each one of these keywords, right? So for example, let's say for that e-commerce store I was talking about, keyword is consuming CBD harmful? And it gets like 10,000 clicks and it's relatively attainable for us to rank for. And also it has quite a lot of CPCs. They were like, this is great. That the commercial, that the user intent for that is it's a fancy way of just saying, just Google it and see what pops up. And if it's a blog post, most people are looking to get their answers. Yeah. But then if they're looking for best CBD gummies to eat, they're more likely, they're not looking to read about the history of CBD. They're looking to actually purchase something. So that's when you want to hit them with a landing page. So according to each one of these user intent for each one of these keywords, you can go ahead and start producing content pieces or web pages that are either blog articles, landing pages, or template pages, whatever that you have, depending on the industry that you're in. And then once you put this out there, and this, by the way, is applicable to anybody who's listening. So the same goes for OSI. We do the same thing as a software company. And pretty much the basics of these are the same across all these. And that's normally step 1 in your SEO game. So it's to build that site structure by identifying the right keywords and building content according to the user intent. And once you put this out there, guess what's going to happen? Nothing. Right. Traffic. But at least what we have at that point is a foundation that we can start building on top of.
Yeah, good to know. And thank you for that very detailed breakdown. And I think you're totally right what you stated at the beginning. As a lot of businesses that are getting started are going the build it and they will come, or they think they can just build it and then people are going to flock to it. And obviously you and I know, a lot of people listening know that that's just not the case. These search engines, they're not going to just magically find you. But yeah, they do spider sites. They do go through and add sites to the index. But in order to get that correct positioning for the keywords that you mentioned, you got to do that work. You got to do that keyword research, figure out where you need to kind of come in at. And again, very key. I'm glad you mentioned that you don't want to shoot for the stars, because there's of course it could be some very strong parent keywords that are in your niche that you think that you may fall under, but they're just super competitive, and no matter what you do starting off, you're never gonna compete with them, and until you start building up that traction and get that authority, that domain authority.
And I can prove it to you, Arlen. If you do me a favor, just go ahead and open a little incognito page on your browser and just Google the term, for example, like presentation software, which is one of our top keywords for Visme. All right. So you see how right underneath the search bar, it tells you how many web pages? How many web pages are at the top?
Let's see here. It looks like it shows.
How many zeros do you see?
It's going to be quite a lot. I'm just pulling it up right now. Second. Wow. I see 7 zeros. Yeah, seven
All right.
zeros.
7
That's a
zeros?
lot.
I'm
Yeah,
surprised. That's actually 7.
yeah. I see
So it's
seven
like in the
zeros.
tens of millions.
Yeah,
I thought it was in the billions. I thought
yeah.
it was
Actually, I think it is. I think actually you're right. It is in the billions. We're at actually about 3.5 billion. Actually,
all right.
yeah,
So
three. Yeah,
there's
three,
three
three
and
and
a
a
half
half back.
billion. What do you see on the organic search results? So obviously there's some ads at the top where everybody's more.
Yeah, there's an ads at the top, and then we see, of course, you guys are listed. You guys are listed right below the ads. You got some
Number one organic
there.
search results. All right.
Yeah,
so what you guys see now, I mean, obviously it fluctuates. It's not always number one, but
right.
But out of 3.5 billion search results, what my understanding is that even if you're in the top 1% in terms of quality of content, however way you want to measure it, you're still going to be in the millions of search results. Yeah. So if you're Google and you're trying to index web pages and you're trying to rank them, the only metric that you can rely on is popularity. And that's hard to get. Is something that's not under your control. So the way to measure that is by backlinks. So what are other relevant authoritative websites in your space are mentioning you or talking about you? And those links pointing to your website is a vote of popularity, and things get very interesting then, aren't they? Because now it's no longer, it's only reliant on the content you put on your website, because everybody can create good content per se. But now it becomes a matter of, okay, can you get other people to talk about it now? And if they do, that's what is going to help you push up and become in the top 0.001%.
Yeah.
So, and that's really the whole promise here, is that we had to flip in terms of allocation of resources to not spend 4 times the amount of time we spent on creating a piece of content on actual promotion, and make sure that we get some, basically get some backlinks to that page.
Gotcha. Yeah, very interesting you mentioned that, because I think the popularity of the content, I think, is really also directly tied to having it be evergreen. And that's right. Kind of a big buzzword these days. A lot of people are throwing that around, evergreen content. Why don't you kind of break it down? What exactly is this evergreen content, and how do you promote it, and how does this kind of fit into everything?
Absolutely. So, Arlen, we get about 20 to 25,000 new signups to Visme's platform every single day. 20 to 25,000.
Wow.
Now, if we were to pay Google to place ourselves in the ads, that would cost us $1.5 million a month every month. Wow. As soon as we shut it down, it's gone. It's not a channel we own. We all know, especially folks in the e-commerce store, in the e-commerce industry, that cost per clicks and ad, cost per acquisition and ads, especially all across the board, not even just Google, Facebook, Instagram, is skyrocketing, almost becoming ridiculous. And if you sell a product that's $10 and you got a cost of goods sold of $4, that $6 goes into customer acquisition, and you end up with $0. And that's how you shut down and go out of business. So what you want to do is to show up in places where people who are looking for a product like yours would naturally, organically come and find you, versus you having to push yourself to other people, try to build a brand, quote unquote. That's going to be a very expensive play to try to get some eyeballs on your product. So the goal here is to identify certain keywords and create educational material and go build backlinks to these specific pages. So that now the whole process of building backlinks is it's much easier said than done. That's sort of, and then that's something that everybody sort of knows who's remotely familiar with SEO. But a lot of people associate that with, I can go buy 1,000 backlinks on Fiverr for $1 and get these junk sites. And Google's become very extremely smart in identifying what's actually relevant and what's not, and what's actually organic and what's not. And so the whole process of you reaching out and finding these publications is basically where we sort of come in, and that's sort of what Respona helps with.
Okay, great. Yeah, it's so there's a lot really in there as far as this content is concerned. And one of the key things I wanted to kind of highlight that you did mention is, which is going to make this content evergreen, is associating it with key informational content pieces that'll always be relevant to your product or services. Because, if you're putting out content that really speaks to the maybe use cases of your product or services, maybe even testimonials. Those things are, that's never going to change. Those typical use cases will always usually be applicable, unless you have some, major change in your offering and it's no longer irrelevant. That usually is not the case. So that content will, and that's kind of where the whole evergreen will come. It'll always be associated with it. And so
right.
the fact that once you have that in place, then it's just a matter of, like you said, associating it with other places where people are going to be looking for, the answers to their questions and looking for, a product or service like yours. And that's kind of how it always will be. It's, like a cycle.
That's right.
We'll always have a funnel of people coming through that are looking for that type of thing, that they find your content and then they're able to circle back into it. And so, very, very important. It's interesting that you mentioned how much, in order to get this stuff, if you were to have to pay Google to get this direct traffic, like you said, in your guys' case, you'd be paying, $1.5 million per month. And that's just not feasible. And so that's why organic SEO is the more long-term sustainable type of traffic that you can
exactly.
get, as long as, of course, you're playing within the rules of Google. Like you said, you can't go out and Fiverr and pay $1 for 1,000 links because, believe it or not, Google is going to they're going to catch up with that.
And, exactly. So let's give some examples. I feel like the audience are probably at this point thinking, okay, Farzad, we know we need these. We need to promote our content. We need to build backlinks. How in the world are we going to actually go about doing that?
Right.
Because we all know, yes, evergreen content is good. We need to write content, and you put this out and it's crickets. And let's see how we can change that. All right. So there's a few strategies that I'd like to kind of touch on. I'm not sure how much time we're going to have, but I'm going to leave you with a couple, at least some actionable tips that people can get started.
Okay, great.
One very simple link building strategy is what I'm doing right now. I'm getting a backlink from OSI affiliate and you don't even know it.
Right.
See, so going and finding, let me tell you how exactly I ended up here on this show, Arlen. Even though we're buddies and we've already been in touch before in the past, which is what a small world. But what our team did, so Dylan, one of our marketing team members, one of his responsibilities, the book me podcast. So guess what he does? Fires up Respona. He goes and finds people in our space who go on other people's podcasts, and Respona would generate a list of these podcasts that they've been a guest on with their interviews. So what that tells you is automatically three things. One, this podcast accept guests, because not all podcasts do. Two, they're relevant to your space because they've interviewed someone in your space. And also it makes your life easier when it comes to pitching, because you can use that episode as a hook and personalize your pitch, tailor it to exactly how you found them. Right. And then obviously, it would find you the contact information of the host, and you can send them an email and personalize it based on that specific episode. Now, you don't need to use Respona for that. You can do a lot of that stuff yourself manually. It's just going to take a little more time. But consistently going on podcasts is a great way to get some free exposure to your product or service that you're offering, and also build great relationships with people in your space. Like I get to meet you, Arlen, and we get to catch up today. Just because of Dylan, and thanks to him, we're reconnecting, and that's obviously this is a step one in our relationship. So hopefully there are other areas we can partner with, and there's tons of other things that we could go. So there you go. That's one strategy right there. It's going on podcasts. I guess
definitely.
Not a strategy, affiliate marketing. So let's say you go sign up for OSI affiliates, and if you haven't yet, what are you waiting for? Go sign up for it. It's like $40 a month. It's a steal. Affiliate software right now costs an arm and a leg. But let's say you got OSI, that's great. Now, how in the world you get people to actually promote your product, right? Getting set up with an affiliate software, that's the easy part. You guys have made a very easy platform to do that. But the toughest part is actually getting other people to start promoting you.
Right.
But not only that, but when you include an affiliate link, that has just a reference tag to it. It's still a backlink to your website. So when a publication is listing, hey, what are the best CBD gummies? And they're actually referencing your product with an affiliate link, that is still a backlink pointing to your website. So another strategy that follows for affiliate recruitment is called the listicle strategy. So you can Google this yourself. You don't need to use, as I said, tools like Respona. Again, these are just there for you to be able to scale things and save you time. If you're just starting out, I actually advise against paying for tools as much as possible. Try to do everything manually up until the point it gets hard to go up. So what you want to do is to go ahead and look at what are some of the listicles in your space. What are some of the blog posts and the publications that are already listing product like yours, and invite them to come and join your affiliate program. So by doing that, you're hitting two birds with one stone. One, you're getting your product in places where people who are looking for a software or a product or e-commerce product like yours finding you. And also you're getting that backlink to your website. And yes, you give commissions to somebody who's actually mentioned that. And obviously that's part of the game. So there's got to be a mutually beneficial collaboration.
Right.
Now I can go on and on till tomorrow in terms of throwing strategies, but there's a few simple things I highly recommend folks. We have a little free outreach strategy hub on the Respona website. So it's ungated, it's free. Everybody can take a look at it. It's not, so we give you ready to use recipes and templates of different kinds of strategies you can use to promote your product and also build backlinks. Yeah. And just go to respona.com, RESPONA, and the bottom of the page is the outreach strategy hub. So you can go ahead and go through a bunch of different strategies. I think we got 18 of them.
Okay.
And follow through it and start today, because obviously it's going to take a level of experimentation to figure out what works best in your space. And it's just a matter of time for it to ignore the strategies that don't work and double lens on the stuff that works.
Great. Well, yeah, thank you for sharing those tips. Definitely, for sure. You know, number one, of course, being on the podcast is a great way to do it. Great way to get exposure. And the key thing now, I'm glad you mentioned it, is there are so many podcasts that are probably relevant to, the space that you're in these days. I mean, this podcast has been on for, we've been going for almost since 2014. So since that time, it's really exploded. So there's so many types of podcasts and niches that you can get on. And again, just doing that research and seeing if you can be a guest, if they accept a guest. Great, easy way to get a link is just get on there and you can get a link. Usually podcasts will post their show notes. They'll have a link to your site in their show notes, also in the podcast description. And so all of that is a great way to get that link. And then, of course, affiliate programs, a great way to do it. As of course, here at OSI Affiliate Software, we know that. And, in order to get the affiliates signed on, is the more affiliates that you get that are out there promoting, that's just a direct link back. So that's awesome. Another awesome way to do it. So thank you for mentioning that. As we get ready to kind of wrap things up, I always like to see if my guests can highlight some examples of some different businesses that have done some of these things. And so I want to know if you could point out some either businesses that, the things that you guys done internally, or businesses that you've worked with that have done some successful evergreen marketing campaigns, and what are some specific strategies that they've used to, employ these strategies?
Absolutely. So one of my favorite marketing marketing company, I would say marketing teams, not necessarily e-commerce, but they're in the e-commerce space, is Shopify. They're getting an insane amount of traffic, and they've got one of the very good examples I shared recently with our team is the business name generator tool that they created. So since they help businesses basically with creating an e-commerce store, and guess what they need to do first? If you want to start e-commerce store, you want to pick a name for your business, you gotta create a logo, you want to get a domain. So they sort of built this, I would say, business name generator for all verticals, and it's a free tool that's generating, I would say, some hundreds of thousands of visitors to our website every month, and they're converting our traffic. So creating these tools that are free for SEO purposes goes a long way, and that's something we're in the process of doing. So we just put together, for example, an email finder and an email verifier, a landing page on Respona, which is an actual interactive tool for free that you can use. Now, that's one. Not a company I really respect in the content game is Ahrefs themselves. So they sort of eat their own dog food and write really quality pieces of content. And they're also a very good resource if you're interested in SEO. So those two companies, I'd say, Shopify and Ahrefs are two companies that I very much respect.
Great. Thank you for mentioning that. Those are some great examples. I know Ahrefs, they have a lot of free tools. They have also some educational pieces that they put out on their blog. I even think they have like a course, some type of little course or university that they had put out a while ago. That is a great way to, you're educating people, and then in the game, you're building your funnel, and you're getting people exposed to your brand. And so it's awesome examples. And Shopify, another great one there with the name generators. Just so something just as simple as that is that you can, pull people to, and then, get them information, get them to trust you. And, then, hopefully they can kind of get in there and utilize your products or services. We had great, Farzad. I appreciate you highlighting those examples. I definitely appreciate you coming on the podcast. I definitely have learned a lot, and I know our guests have, our listeners have as well, rather. And but before we do let you go, I always like our guests to share one closing fun fact about themselves that you think our audience would be interested to know.
Sure. I would say a lot of people are surprised here I actually play an instrument, because I'm not a very artistic person, but I play the Spanish guitar, which is so far away from my own ethnicity. I'm Middle Eastern Iranian originally.
Okay.
But yeah, I play flamenco, which is like Spanish classical guitar. I'm not very good at all by any standard, but I try. So
okay, that's good stuff, man. Yeah, that's not something I don't think I would have thought of. Spanish guitar. It's kind of definitely a niche category there.
That's right.
I know there's a lot of different types and styles of guitar, but yeah, interesting, man. Yeah, I know. I've always kind of thought about. I've always been interested in guitars. I like rock music. I like guitarists and some of the greats, and so that's something I've always thought about. I'm like, should I learn how to play guitar? I don't know, maybe you may have kind of inspired me more to kind of jump in there and learn how to play the guitar.
Good hobby. Yeah cathartic for me, but good stuff, man. Well, thank you for sharing that as well. My pleasure.
Appreciate that. But lastly, before we do let you go, if any of our listeners want to reach out to you, or any of our viewers want to reach out to you, pick your brain any more about content marketing or evergreen content, what's the best way for them to reach you?
Of course. So Respona, we put together quite a lot of free educational material, and that's just on our blog. I highly recommend people take a look. Again, a lot of the strategies, our content team, we do our best to try to offer alternative ways on how you be able to replicate a lot of these strategies yourself manually without having to purchase any tools, like ourselves included. And also, my name is Farzad Rashidi, and there aren't a whole lot of them out in this world. So I'm pretty easy to spot on LinkedIn. If you want to stop by and say hi, I'd love to connect with folks.
Gotcha. That sounds good. I definitely encourage people to check you guys out on Respona.com. We'll have the link in the show notes, and also Visme as well, Visme.com as well. And they can also want to pick your brain directly. Yeah, definitely. They can just look you up on LinkedIn or any social platform for sure.
Sounds like a plan.
All right, Farzad. Well, thanks for coming on. We definitely appreciate having you. And definitely it was great having you on the Ecommerce Marketing Podcast.
Thanks for having me on the show. This was fun.
All right.
Thank you for listening to the Ecommerce Marketing Podcast. If you've enjoyed this episode, be sure to rate, review, subscribe, and share it with everyone you know. Are you looking to take your digital marketing to the next level, but are tired of weeding through countless YouTube videos with unproven and untrusted marketing strategies? Well, we have the answer for you. The More Sales Every Month online digital marketing course. In this information-packed course, you will learn effective keyword research, link building, content marketing, and much more to attract and convert your site visitors into paying customers. Just go to moresaleseverymonth.com and sign up today for a low one-time fee. In addition to this power-packed course, if you would like to get access to a growing repository of digital marketing articles, PDFs, and ebooks, check out getosi.com/resources and opt in to get full access to our library of priceless marketing information to help you take your digital marketing to the next level.